Hey there, true believers. You're tuned into Baxter Building Radio via the Negative Zone feed, and you are listening to episode 27 of the Fantastic Four Fancast. My name's Nate Charles. I'm your host, and I am joined by my co-host. His name is Shane Murray. How you doing tonight, Shane?
Better than I've done in a while. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. I know you're coming off being sick, but aside from that, what have you been up to since our last meeting?
Mostly being sick. That took heck of a time out. But then, it was the holiday, so my sister came in. Some other weird family that I haven't met in decades. So it was an interesting Thanksgiving, to say the least. But here we are.
Define some other weird family.
Uh, dad's cousins. So like literally people that don't even live in the state. We have not seen them since the 90s. I will tell you, this is the exact statement from his one cousin because her son came up with her, and he's like, "Is those the kids that were getting thrown at the wedding across the hallway?" And she's like, "Yeah, those were the boys that were getting thrown across the hallway in the at the wedding." He's like, "Oh, okay," and I was like, "Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense."
What were you doing at the wedding that you were getting thrown across the hallway?
I don't know what we did, but we ended up getting thrown across the hallway through the doorway and onto the bed and told to stay there. I'm sure doing nothing good. Me and my brother together as children generally led to terrifying things. We were like Johnny and Reed, you can't leave us alone together because something bad's gonna happen.
Like Johnny and Reed, not like Johnny and Ben.
No, no. Johnny and Reed, remember they've opened a Hellmouth.
Yeah, okay, they opened the ghost mouth or whatever, but yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. If anybody would like to learn more about that experience, you can go back and check out episode 21, where we cover Fantastic Four, Volume 7, number 26.
Yeah. I'm sure for whatever reason we got tossed. We definitely deserved getting tossed onto that bed.
Fun stuff.
You mean you don't have anything fun like that from when you were a kid?
Dude, I wrecked a car when I was 16 and ended up riding in the ambulance to the hospital and getting checked out, and I didn't have any broken bones or anything. But when it was found out that the whole reason I wrecked the car was because I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, my dad literally, as we were getting into the car to go home, picked me up by the back of my shirt and my belt loop. I was 16. I was not a small kid either. And literally tossed me in from the driver's side across into the passenger seat of the pickup truck. So, yeah, I have experienced that, and it was not fun.
Yeah, see? I think mine was way more fun because I do not remember it because I did a lot of stuff.
This is ingrained into my brain now that
Yeah,
we're revisiting my past trauma here.
you're welcome. You need to learn how to go by it like me, where you're just like, yeah, it definitely sounds like something I would have done.
Did you go out and get any of your Christmas shopping done here after Thanksgiving?
No, no, my Christmas shopping has been started since August.
Oh, very forward thinking of you. Lots of forethought there.
I have to do that every year because of the winter comes and then it makes everything really, really tight budget wise.
That's oil heat for you.
And electricity, because like heat up out here with the pellet stove and heat up upstairs to help them run keep the warmth up there. They have like electric heat and yeah, these next couple months suck. As long as the sun's out like it was today, though, it's not so bad. What about yourself?
Oh, I went over to my parents' house for Thanksgiving, and then here on Black Friday, we're recording the day after Black Friday, I managed to knock out all of my Christmas shopping at one time. Kept it within budget, pretty happy with how everything turned out. So, I hear you had a little bit of a misadventure aside from being sick. I heard that your microwave decided to burst into flames.
Last Saturday, yeah. It just gave out and got super smoky and everything, and yeah, had to go buy a new microwave. That was fine.
Your daughter was using the microwave, I understand, when that happened?
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was going to go. It just happened to be the person that happened to.
Well, speaking of things that burst into flame, would you like to move on to talking about today's book?
Oh, absolutely.
You have no idea how long I've been sitting on wanting to do that segue. So, Shane, what are we covering today?
Oh, we're covering Human Torch, what's this, Volume 3, Issue 2?
That is correct, sir. Cover dated for July of 2003, but released on May 14th of 2003 with a cover price of $2.50. A little bit of a change up this week. I hopped on price charting to see what this book had sold for, and the only value I could find was that of an ungraded copy. Would you like to take a guess, Shane, at what the ungraded copy of this has sold for?
Uh, $1.76.
Well, by Price is Right rules, you did not go over, so you technically won, but $4.37.
All right, fair enough. Seems high.
Our creative team for this issue is writer Carl Kessel, penciler Scotty Young, inker Joe Sung. The colorist on here is listed as Studio F. Did we talk about Studio F last episode that we
I
covered
don't
Human Torch Volume
I don't
3, number
think we
1?
really talked about Studio F.
Okay, so Studio F was a computer coloring studio back in the day. They got their start in the mid 90s, founded by Francisco Ruiz Velasco, who's gone on to do just tons of work in the industry. So far as what they were doing around this time, aside from Human Torch, they worked on Greg Rucka's Wolverine series. They did the Inhuman series that was done through Marvel Knights, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk. I mean, they were all over the place here in the early 2000s.
Wide portfolio.
Our letterer for this issue was Corey Pettit. The assistant editors were Mark Sumarek and Andy Schmidt. The editor for the issue was Tom Brevoort. Editor in chief at the time was Joe Quesada. President of Marvel was Bill Jemas. And listed as the Keepers of the Flame were Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who, of course, created Johnny Storm way back in 1961. Would you care to hear a synopsis for this issue, Shane?
Is there an actual synopsis for this issue?
There actually is on Marvel Unlimited this time around. It is one line.
Oh man.
Johnny Storm's biggest mistakes come back to haunt him.
I mean, it
Short,
hits it.
short, sweet, to the point. Go ahead and take us through the cover here, Shane.
All right, yeah, you got that Human Torch, really fancy font they have going on there across the top with the flamed number fours going across that little banner there. You got Johnny reaching his hands out towards you in a tank top, and I think they're supposed to be cargo pants with a chain wallet. And you got the little burn part two going behind him with a flame in it that was like the paint job on the Trans Am in the first issue.
I was just about to bring that up. I do like the touch of the belt buckle with a number four on it.
Yeah,
And he says necklace. This is the most 2003 look I think I have ever seen, quite frankly.
yeah, this is aggressively 2003.
Okay, so we open up our book here and we are actually greeted with a recap page. And I think this is the earliest issue in which we've been greeted with a recap page thus far. I know we had one back when we covered volume 7, number 26. But yeah, these started coming into prominence a little bit more in the early 2000s. And our recap page says previously, 4. Johnny Storm is the youngest member of the world famous Fantastic Four, with the powers and temperament of fire itself. Impulsive, restless, and thrill seeking by nature, the Torch doesn't need to wait for the rest of the FF to have adventures. He can get into trouble all by himself. 3. Years ago, after gaining his powers, Johnny became the most popular student on his high school campus, thrilling everyone, except Mike Snow, Olympics-bound wrestler and big man on campus until the torch came along. That they weren't the best of friends would be putting it mildly. 2. The snow-storm rivalry reached a terrible climax one night when, fighting over a girl, a frustrated and enraged Johnny burned Snow badly. 1. That was then. This is now. Stanley presents Burn Part 2. And moving into the book itself, we're going to end up referring to this as page 2, but realistically, this was a double page spread. What are we seeing here, Shane?
We're seeing a bunch of press around Johnny as he's trying to go break a land speed record.
Yeah, so this is apparently the Southern Oregon desert 2 days ago. There's like four tents set up here, one of which in the middle is blue with the Fantastic Four's logo on it. And you've got, I would say, what, two or three press vehicles there, a couple fire trucks, an ambulance.
Some
Um,
cop cars.
yeah, and yeah, there's definitely a crowd milling all around. We start with a reporter saying, "Expect to break the sound barrier, Mr. Storm?" Well, seeing how the speed of sound 700 miles per hour plus change, and I'm looking to torque the Fireball XS up to 800 at least. Yeah, I'd say there's going to be a big boom on my way to setting a new land speed record. Current record 763. Shouldn't be hard for you to break, Johnny. Rumor is your sister's husband, Reed Richards, helped with the XS design. And we get our first glimpse here at Johnny, and go ahead and describe what he's wearing for us, Shane.
So Johnny now is in a fire suit with sunglasses and maybe a better haircut for your liking.
I did take umbrage with his haircut last issue, yes. And real quick, for those of you who would like to go back and revisit the first issue, we did touch on that in episode 23. Johnny continues. Come on, people. We all know if Reed was involved, the fireball'd finish its measured mile before it started and end up in another dimension. Sure, building this little beauty was a little tougher than changing out a transmission, and I called in some help. Didn't anyone hear me on the radio with the car talk, guys? But bottom line, this is the Johnny Storm Show, start to finish. Allow me to introduce my leading lady, the Fireball XS. Powered by a J79 turbo jet engine, usually found in Phantom 4F jets, with a 6,000-pound thrust liquid propellant motor for added boost. Runs on JP4 jet fuel. In full burner, she uses 10 gallons a second, 50 gallons a mile. Do the math, that's about 0.02 miles per gallon or 105 feet per gallon. Not exactly a cheap date. And this prohibitively expensive and wasteful stunt is important. Why? Hey, all technological breakthroughs are expensive at first. Luckily, the Fantastic Four can afford to go where no one's gone before. That's what we do. As for practical uses, well, if I've learned anything from my genius brother-in-law, it's that you can never tell where things might lead. Who knows? Maybe this ride will do something to help improve high-speed mass transport systems, and if not, it's still going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And Johnny turns to a young woman, and would you like to describe her to us, Shane?
Yeah. She is basically the FF secretary, for lack of a better term, and she's wearing like a button-up blouse with a white t-shirt underneath and some hoop earrings, and is like not thrilled to be dealing with Johnny's shenanigans with her facial expression there.
And do you know her name?
Uh, I have had a heck of a time trying to pronounce that the whole time.
Okay, so this is Jian Fita. She is Johnny's assistant because, fun fact, at this point in time, Johnny has been the chief financial officer of Fantastic Four Incorporated since Fantastic Four Volume 3, number 62 in December of 2002.
That's a scary proposition.
Yeah, you don't say, right? So, and Johnny says, okay, the media types are all yours, Gian. Unless you'd like to be the one to take the excess for a little spin. My duties at FF Inc. are very flexible, Mr. Storm. Business advisor, personal assistant, pizza procurer, but I believe insane acts of bravura are your job. And Johnny turns to go towards the XS, and another reporter pipes up, hey, Storm, whatever happened to that last girlfriend of yours? Seems you dropped her like a cold fish. And Johnny glares over his shoulder. His eyeballs actually flame up. And here I thought I didn't invite the public eye or trash talking tabloids like that. Everyone knows I got lots of old flames. That's not news. But if you want to talk about broken hearts, talk to the guy who holds the current land speed record for a few minutes more. Quick aside here, Shane. Do you know who Johnny's last girlfriend was at this time?
I do not.
So, the comment of being dropped like a cold fish makes a little more sense when you realize that Johnny's last girlfriend was Namarita, cousin of Namor the Sammariner.
That does make more sense then.
They had started dating in New Warriors Volume 2, Number 3 back in December of 1999, but they had last been seen as a couple in Fantastic Four Volume 3, Number 50 from February of 2002, so a little over a year previous to this. He gets into the XS and puts his helmet on. Let's do it. Engines to power, turbines to speed. And Jian begins to address the press. I believe that horribly overused cliche is our cue. If everyone would please move to the safety of the observation area, live feed from the in-car cameras will begin as soon as Mr. Storm is in place. And we see the interior of a television truck, as the technical director says. Images incoming and clear and right on schedule for East Coast evening news. Patching through to the network in 3, 2, and we see a reporter for Channel 7 come online. 1 minute or less from launch, allowing for acceleration and deceleration. The course is about 11 miles, with the measured mile, the one that counts towards the record, in its center. Storm will run this course twice, once in each direction to compensate for any tailwind advantage, with the average of those two runs determining the final speed of the vehicle. And we see a woman seated in a vehicle watching this on television, and she yells to someone, he's about to go for it. Move it or lose it, mate. We go back to Jian and the staff for the launch, and the man to her right says, board's green, while the one to her left says, you're good to go, Johnny. Already gone. And what happens, Shane?
You get a nice shroom as he starts to take off.
This is kind of our first real good look at the XS. So what are we looking at here?
Well, of course, true to anything that Johnny Storm's going to put his hands on, he's got a flame going across it. And it basically looks like a giant torpedo with a little tiny fin in the back to try to keep it stable.
With a cockpit up top. And we turn the page to see it zooming across the desert here. While on the television truck, they are measuring how fast the vehicle is moving. 250 miles per hour? 300? 350? Stay on the run line, Johnny. You're drifting left. Busted. Just wanted to hit a drive through it and grab a soda. Bad eyes. And he was no cup holders. And a reporter says, we've lost the fireball signal, but the transmission blackout is normal in transonic speeds between 450 and 600 miles per hour. Contact should be reestablished in about, wait a minute, a helicopter has just flown out from behind a mesa and into the race lane. It's unmarked, and I assume unauthorized. And the woman that we had seen earlier leans out of the open helicopter with a video camera and shouts to the pilot, closer, mate. Let those other losers only show people what Storm wants them to see. The public eye'll show them everything else. Meanwhile, The tech truck communicates to Johnny. Back online and still on track, Johnny. Get ready to go Mach 650, 700. But Johnny spots the helicopter. Guys, we got a prop. The hell'd that chopper come from? Thing's corkscrewing. Caught in the sonic boom. It's gonna crash. Speaking of the sonic boom,
You get a nice thought boom.
story of my life. Flame on. And Johnny bursts from the cockpit.
Yeah, you get a nice boom as he's starting to flame on to get out of there. And boom as it explodes. And then he is free of the and full flame on as the thing's just fully engulfed in flame at this point.
Yeah, how many $1 million you think that was?
Oh, I don't even want to know. I don't know. Let's say $110 million.
At least, probably more. And Johnny, fully flamed on, goes barreling headlong towards the helicopter and bursts through it and comes out carrying both the pilot and the reporter, Sheila Donner. What a surprise. And the helicopter now also crashes to the ground.
Yeah, with a nice as it also explodes.
And Johnny goes ahead and drops both the pilot and Sheila to the ground in front of the rest of the reporters. Flying out from behind a rock. That's a big step up from your usual routine of crawling out from under one. Just to be clear, this is a private party and you weren't invited. The public eye is the kind of so called news organization that has no ethics, uses questionable tactics, and thinks fact checking is something you do at a bank. You're the embodiment of everything wrong with journalism, Donner. Nothing personal. And Johnny flames off. Oi, neither is this, mate. You want the spotlight, you don't get to choose who shines it. Not when you're a public figure in a public place. Did things get out of hand here? Yes, sad to say, even after my pilot guaranteed he could handle any trouble coming his way. Am I grateful you saved our aces? For the rest of my days. Could it have all been avoided if you had invited me from the start? Abso-bloody-loot. And Johnny cuts her off and grabs her hand, which she has been pointing directly in his face. Oh no, this wasn't my fault. None of it was. Ow! So that's how it is, I. Set to burn anyone who doesn't do things your way. And Johnny looks over to the reporters as Sheila is obviously trying to lull him into an incident here. And Jian approaches. Let the authorities handle this one, Johnny. Everyone knows what happened here. Don't give them a different headline. And Johnny turns and heads back to the Fantastic Four branded tent. But as he walks away, he glances back over his shoulder and says, I never burn anybody. Never. And the security on site grab both Sheila and the pilot and begin escorting them towards the police vehicle. Come with us, Miss Donner. Certainly, officers. I need a ride back into town, as it turns out, where I believe my organization's fine lawyer is already waiting to straighten out this whole bloody mess. And we turn the page to see that uh, Johnny and Jian have hopped into a sedan that hovers in midair.
And looks like a Tesla.
Yeah, very interesting design here. And Jian says to Johnny, let's see, at a total cost of 12.4 million, that's approximately 2.48 million per mile run, or 0.496 million per second in round numbers. Not the world record you were going for, but it should do nicely until you destroy the Fireball XS version 2. There won't be a version 2. And Jian looks at Johnny quizzically. What happened today? You know that wasn't your fault, Johnny. Didn't say it was, just not interested anymore. You've been around me long enough to know that much, Jian. Johnny Storm has the attention span of a music video played at triple speed. No, what I know is there might be better ways to invest the Fantastic Four's money. but I also know you were extremely good out there today. I'm only good at one thing, Jan, getting into trouble and getting out. There's a situation come up. Unauthorized use of some of the FF's patented Fantastic devices to create special effects in Hollywood. You should look into it. That's another thing you should know. How I feel about Hollywood. I know you're great until someone gives you a script. I know the only person you can be is yourself. And I know Sarah Michelle Gellar would love to meet you. Well, if someone's got to go, I guess it should be me. I mean, to take care of that. What was it again? Pirated technology. Yeah, that. And the car approaches the Baxter building. And we next see Johnny and Jeanne walking past the receptionist in the Fantastic Four's Baxter building headquarters. Do you remember the name of the Fantastic Four's receptionist, Shane?
Absolutely not.
So her name is Roberta. Do you know what's interesting about Roberta?
She's a robot.
That is correct. And as they walk by, Johnny muses, Soderbergh and Clooney, they do killer stuff. And Brad Pitt, we could hang. Oh, and Barrymore, Diaz, and Lou, all the angels. Don't want to leave them out. So, Shane, these are some very 2003 references. I mean, don't get me wrong. These are all actors and actresses who are still very much in the public eye, but they were really big back at this time period. Who do you think would fill these spots today?
I don't know who the first guy is at all.
Soderbergh, he's a director.
Did he do anything that I've ever seen?
Ocean's 11.
Yeah, I saw that once. Okay. Director wise, I guess it would be oh man, what's his name? The dude that does all the DC stuff now.
James Gunn.
Yeah, so it'd be like Gunn and Pratt, I guess. No one likes Clooney and Pratt. It's the same way. So yeah, there you go.
I like Clooney.
No one likes Clooney and Pratt's the same way. And then Barrymore, Diaz, and Lou. That's a great question. I don't know.
I feel like the Sarah Michelle Gellar reference could be like taken over by like Sydney Sweeney, you know?
That's for sure. So that could be replaced by Sydney Sweeney. Barrymore, is that like
I think they just did another Charlie's Angels film not too long ago. I think Kristen Stewart was in it.
that's weird. I don't know. I literally don't. I don't watch a lot of movies.
Anyway, just some fun musings.
Yeah. Did you have like a replacement for them all?
Uh, dude, I already contributed Sydney Sweeney. I don't have the bandwidth for the rest. So Ruperta says, Excuse me, Mr. Storm, there's a man been waiting to see you. Says it's extremely important. And we see a gentleman staring out the Baxter Building window over New York City. He's wearing a New York City Fire Department uniform. Always happy to help the New York Fire Department. What can I do for you, mister? And the gentleman removes his hat and go ahead and describe him to us, Shane.
When he first turns around, you only see half his face, and then when he fully turns around, you get to see Mr. Mike Snow back in the flesh with half of his face slash neck burned.
Yeah, we see a flashback to him kneeling in the snow, his right arm and part of his face engulfed in flame as Johnny looks horrified at what he's done. And in the present, Johnny also looks very disturbed to be seeing the gentleman in front of him. And he says, Snow, Mike Snow. And Jian says, You know him, Mr. Storm? And Mike chimes in, Johnny and I went to high school together. He was there when I got burned. Got me to the hospital. Saved my life that night. Yeah, well, that's me. Always doing the right thing. If we're reliving our glory days, let's go in my office. Okay, Mike? Johnny holds the door open for Mike, who says, Sure. And they enter Johnny's office, and the door closes with a
Click.
And in Johnny's office, the afternoon twilight is showing through the windows, kind of just illuminating the two of them in silhouette. Mike says, "Don't worry. I wouldn't have told them. I've never told anyone. That was our agreement, our secret. What do you tell people? That I was waiting to prank you? Another in a long line of stunts that our classmates enjoyed and encouraged. But this one blew up in my face. Literally. Flash powder. Good thing you were there. Yeah, lucky you." And the two sit down at Johnny's desk and share an awkward silence. "I didn't know what you told people. I guess I didn't really want to know." "Well, I never knew what you told that gal Hannah, why you stopped seeing her. Still don't." "Didn't tell her anything. Just started seeing someone else. She got the message. You never went out with her, did you? Wasn't that the deal? You wouldn't say I burned you. I'd leave Hannah open for you." "I was busy, recovering." "Another thing to thank me for. Talk about getting burned. I messed up you, your time with the girl, and oh yeah, almost forgot. Your chance at the Olympics. That was a long time ago. No good dwelling on the past. No use reliving it every day." Ha! We never could agree on anything, could we, Mike? At this moment, Jeanne pops her head in through the door. "Sorry to interrupt the happy reunion, Mr. Storm, but I thought you'd like to know that Spielberg can't wait to meet you. And minutes after that conversation, George Lucas phoned us asking if you could stop by Skywalker Ranch while you're in the area. The sooner the better, if you ask me. I was thinking the end of the week." Johnny perks up at hearing this. "Great! Perfect! Fantastic, even!" "You've had too much caffeine, Mr. Storm. How's everything going in here?" "Oh, just like old times." "You know, Mr. Snow, it's easy for me to imagine Johnny in high school. Very easy. Has he changed much?" "No, not much at all." And Johnny begins to push Yan out the door. "Well, that kind of says it all, doesn't it? Thanks, Yan. We need you. We'll let you know." And Johnny finishes pushing the door closed, as Mike says from behind him, "Hmm, Hollywood. Beautiful women, fast cars, the rich and famous. Sounds right up your alley, Johnny. Shame if you couldn't go." "What what's that supposed to mean? If you need my help, Snow, and I'm sure that's the only reason you're really here, don't make threats. Just ask." "I'm here because I like my job and I'm good at it. I know a lot about fire. Not everything, but more than I used to. I know why it does what it does most times. I know it's the most dangerous force in the whole world, unless it's controlled. And I know sometimes you have to fight fire with fire." "No riddles, please. What are you saying? You saying you've got an arsonist?" "Arson I can handle. If not, I would have come here years ago. But the last thing I ever wanted to do was come see you until about 6 this morning." And we turn the page and we're greeted by a black and white flashback. Everything in this panel is black and white, with the exception of the fire truck, which is entering the building, which is colored red, which I think is a cool touch. Kind of reminds me of what Spielberg did in Schindler's List, honestly.
Yeah, I thought of Sin City right away, like noir books.
Yep, another good call out. Mike continues. "But the last thing I ever wanted to do was come see you until about 6 this morning when we were returning from a routine call. Just a traffic accident. No major injuries, no sign of any fire, not even sparking wires. Be it calls like that all the time. Just another typical day." Our shift was winding down. My girlfriend, Rose, stopped by on her way to work like always. And we see Mike eating breakfast with the rest of his crew, one of which is wearing a red jacket. His girlfriend, Rose, is embracing him from behind. Great way to end 24 hours on, let me tell you. And describe the gentleman in the red jacket, Shane.
So yeah, he's the a red version of the fireman's jacket that Mike Snow was wearing when we first met him. It's got like a turtleneck on all the way up there. I'm assuming that's part of his fire suit. And then he's got we like to call him high and tights, military cut, big jawline. Looks like he was probably an offensive lineman in high school or something.
Vinny Costello decided the probie needed to do rope inspection before he went off shift. Rope inspection's no joy. That's why the new guys get stuck with it. But Vinny liked making them jump through hoops a little too much. He laughed, but it was a mean laugh. And then he stopped laughing. And Vinny goes wide-eyed and burst into flame. He wasn't near an open flame or anything electrical. Wasn't smoking. Vinny didn't smoke. Didn't even carry a lighter or matches. And then it was over. And Vinny was dead. It all happened so fast. 1 second he was standing there, the next his whole body was on fire. And we get a look at Vinny's horribly burned face as he dies. And we return to the present where Mike stares at Johnny, deadly serious, and says, like a human torch. To be continued. All right, Shane, what did you think of this one?
This one's this was a weird one. It wasn't a great one. Wasn't bad, but I'm going with it. This is a six-part storyline. It definitely moved the story along, and it definitely held to its burned title name. What about yourself?
Well, this is definitely a transitionary issue. I mean, we got all the setup and history between Johnny and Mike in issue one. This one really sets the stage for the mystery going forward in the story. So we get all of our players in place. We get Johnny, we get the reintroduction of Mike, and of course, we get the mystery. Honestly, I mean, it's hard to kind of rate these transitionary issues as far as the story goes, but there is some really interesting stuff in here. I'm gonna kind of work my way backwards through here. We're kind of playing against type here with Scotty Young with that second to last panel where we see Vinny Costello's horribly burned face. Like it is definitely a horror inspired panel. And I know that Scotty has gone on to do I Hate Fairyland, which has some gratuitous violence to it, but I mean, even so, this is rough. It's pretty terrifying.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a striking image.
he also conveys a lot of amazing emotion in this issue with the conversation between Johnny and Mike in Johnny's office, between the remorse and regret that Johnny feels. You can tell in some of these panels with the light smile that Mike has that he is, he's trying to forgive Johnny. He might be taking a little solace in the fact that Johnny still feels guilty here and there. But yeah, I'm just really impressed with the emotion that gets conveyed in these panels.
Yeah, I think he did great work with the eyes in this whole issue.
We even go back to like the body language and the argument with Sheila Donner. It's good. It's really good. Scotty Young's artwork is very stylized, but he really captures those emotions really well. So I really like this one. I like myself a good mystery though. So yeah, let's move on to Fantastic Four of the week. I go first this week.
You do.
So we'll start with Fantastic Frame. So my Fantastic Frame for this issue, via Marvel Unlimited numbering, is page 12, panel 5, which is where you get the first shot of Mike Snow in the issue. His back is to the camera as he stares out the Baxter Building window over New York City. And I picked this for a couple of reasons. I don't think you can really look at another panel in this. I mean, you can look at another panel in this book, but I think it's the best example of a panel in this book where just everything from the entire art team comes together from Scotty's pencils and you see not just Mike's back, but you see his reflection in the window. and how that's overlaid with the cityscape, to the inks that manage to perfectly complement all that with adding to the reflection there. And then the coloring from Studio F. This is definitely where those computer colors come into play. Because look at those twilight clouds over the city and just the light glares on the window and whatnot. It's absolutely gorgeous work.
It is a very beautiful panel.
Yeah, I mean, this was just amazing. I There were a couple other choices that I had. Actually, there was one that I was really looking at, but I just kept coming back to this panel because I couldn't believe how just absolutely gorgeous it was.
It is a great example of them all coming together to get one great panel.
What about you, Shane? What did you have for your fantastic frame?
I had page 7, panel 3.
Go
So
on.
that is when he's fully out of the excess and you see his like him coming out of the explosion. I just really like the contrast in the colors of the explosion versus how his heat showing that there was like a total different temperature range going on there.
Yeah, that is a very dynamic image of the torch. One thing again that sticks out to me about this panel is again something that you only get with those computer colors, which is that kind of radiating like light red glow that represents the heat coming off the fire. And some of the blurred lines here as he's doing his motion with his left arm, and the fire coming off of that. It just very striking.
Besides being very on fire, he's extremely flexible because that is an uncomfortable position with your legs that way and then your whole torso the other way. This dude's not just like a superhero. This guy clearly keeps the rest of himself in shape so that he can do this fantastic acts that he does.
Absolutely. It's a cool Human Torch image. Well, enough gushing. What's your grim grumbling for the week, Shane?
Sheila Donner.
Just in general?
Yeah, just in general. She's just a total brat. She thinks that she's above anyone else's saying, and like the biggest one for me was like page 9, panel 2, where she's just in his face, being like, "If you would have invited me, this wouldn't have happened." And then when he goes to stop her, and she's like, "Ow!" Like he's gonna burn her, though he's not going to. And then when she's like, "Yeah, my lawyers are already getting this all dealt with anyway," like, oh man, get yours.
No, I can see it, but I mean at the same time, she's an antagonist, so you
Yeah.
know
I
she's
can still grumble about antagonists.
that is true. That is true.
So what's yours, bud?
Oh, let's hop over to page 2. Well, the double page splash, panels 4 through 6. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, Jane, but Johnny is the CFO of FF Inc., and the only reason he's pulling this stunt is for quote unquote a hell of a lot of fun. Where are the checks and balances here, man?
He's
Like
the CFO. There's no checker balance.
you think like, I don't know, Reed or Sue or literally anyone, maybe even Jian would be like, maybe we could put our money elsewhere. Granted,
Nah.
he does say that this could incidentally help science in some way, shape, or form, but he's just doing it for the kicks. Even Jian later says that the FF's money could be used in better ways, but here we are. That's mine.
All right.
I thought about doing a timeliness reference, but all the actors and whatnot, but let's be real. Marvel was supposed to be the world outside our window, and the world outside our window in 2003 was Sarah Michelle Gellar and George Clooney and Charlie's Angels. So we'll go ahead and move on to Cosmic Cliffhanger. Mine for this week was actually page 14, panel 5, which is where the door to Johnny's office shuts with a click after he and Mike walk through there. I mean, let's face it, the last time we saw Johnny and Mike together, it was absolutely disastrous. And now, after just years of not seeing each other, they're behind closed doors. When I first read this, it's how is this going to play out? Like, does Mike still harbor resentment? Is he going to freak out on Johnny? Are they going to fight? Is Johnny going to be overcome from with remorse, which is definitely what happens. But yeah, it's a tense moment.
Yeah, that's a good one. Uh, Mine also involves Mike Snow and Johnny, but it's not that one. It's a page back. Also, panel five, though.
Where he just recognizes him for the first time.
Yeah, where he just recognizes him for the first time.
Sure, why'd you go with that one?
Because I did not know where we were going to go from there. When I was reading it, I was like, oh man. Especially because you see the flashback there. I'm like, is Johnny going to be like going right into profusely apologizing and then blow his whole thing about the fact that he said he never burns anyone ever? Or are they going to play this off cool?
Yeah, very similar things. I just, that door shutting with that click is just oof, chill inducing.
So it brings us to the final one, buddy, the
Yeah,
MFP.
yeah. Who was your most fantastic player for the issue, Shane?
I went with Snow
Yeah,
for not telling a soul what happened and still not telling anyone what happened and playing it real cool with Jian.
okay, all right. Speaking of
Uh,
Jian, Jian was my choice for most fantastic player of this issue. All for the great pep talk that she gave Johnny after the disaster that was his attempt to break the land speed record. Because let's face it, he was pretty mad, he was pretty down in the dumps, and she managed to shift his focus to an opportunity that immediately altered his demeanor.
he did become much happier when that was all said and done. I mean, as happy as he can be. He seems really down in this book. This is a very early 2000s emo Johnny.
It is. But also, let's face it, by her own admission, she is his business advisor, personal assistant, and pizza procurer. For that alone, the woman should be given MFP. So,
We're
and
just
she's,
dealing with him on a daily.
yeah, more or less. As far as where you can find this story, just like last time we covered it, there was a Human Torch Burn trade paperback. I believe it was a digest edition that was released in April of 2009. And then there was the Human Torch by Kessel and Young, the complete collection that was released in July of 2014 that collects the whole volume of Human Torch, which I believe was 12 issues or 13 issues. I think it's 12. Also, you can read it on Marvel Unlimited, or you can find it in the back issue bin at your local comic shop. Well, Shane, you know what we're covering next week?
I do not know what we're covering next week. I mean, I'm sure I do have it on my notes, but I don't know. That's why
So,
this is the fun game where you tell me and I'm like, yeah, that's what my notes say.
so it's technically the third week of the month. So we are going to be covering a John Byrne story, and we're going to be going to the start of his groundbreaking run on Fantastic Four. It's not just a random arc here. This is the start of the long run with Fantastic Four, Volume 1, number 232.
See, told you that's what's in my notes. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, it's always good to, jump ahead a little bit. I think we've got a good mix here. We work in the 60s, we jump ahead to the 2000s, we go back to the 80s, and jump to the 90s. We've got a nice variety going on here for the most part.
We are definitely touching all of the FF. Hopefully you can find what you're looking for.
And speaking of that, listeners, as always, we would like to reiterate that your feedback is very important to us. We would highly appreciate if you left us a 5-star review on Apple. That would help the show tremendously. Or leave a comment on Spotify. You can subscribe to us on your preferred listening platform so we show up in your feed each and every week. Join us on Facebook at the Fantastic Four Fancast Facebook group, where we encourage you to engage in FF related discussions and share Fantastic Four content. We only ask that you adhere to our group rules, the most important of which is to be respectful. You can follow us as well on Instagram at Fan4Fancast. That is FAN, the number 4, FANCAST. And also, you can contact us by email with any suggestions or feedback. That is at fan4fancast@gmail.com. Again, that is FAN, the number four, FANCAST at gmail.com. Shane, do you have any final comments that you would like to leave our listeners with this week?
I do not have anything, I don't think.
All right. Well, for Shane Murray, I'm Nate Charles. We thank you again for listening to the Fantastic Four Fancast. And until next week, stay fantastic.